Hey, how's it going, friends? We're going to be going into Dorinthea Blitz, and this is a deck that I've been working a bit on the past few days while I was on holiday. So I do apologize that my video is a little bit late this week because I was over in Italy, and I'm going to massively mispronounce, of course, but there's a little island called Cagliari. Well, I say little island, it's quite a big island. We rented a car, we went to see some nice places on the beach. We went to some really nice Roman ruins. I believe they're called Nora. Feel free to check that out on Google. If you ever go to the island, I can highly recommend to go check out those ruins. It's really well preserved and quite a sight to see. So when it comes to Dorinthea, I've made some changes since my video. Actually, since my video way back on my old channel. This is my new Flesh and Blood channel, and by the way, thank you. We've reached 200 subscribers already with just 6 videos. I find that's quite a milestone, and it makes me a bit happy to see that we could get to such a high subscriber count so quickly, because I remember back in the day when I started YouTube, to get to 200 subscribers, it took a long time. I think even 20 or 30 videos or something like that. So seeing the subscriber count going up, I really appreciate it. And so again, thank you for subscribing to the channel. So when it comes to the equipment, I'm running Null Rune boots, gloves, and the Null Rune hood. Right now testing if I prefer just running Spell Void instead. The reason being is that as Dorinthea, sometimes I feel just pushing aggro against the Kano decks. Best defense is a good offense kind of scenario where you just push as much damage as you can with the Dawnblade and put them into a position that they either have to block or they need to pop off on the spot, and then you have your Spell Void to just stop a bit of damage. But I feel since Kano is poking a bit of early damage here and there, that right now running the Null Rune is maybe the safer path, but I'm not sure. Like, maybe I should run the Spell Void stuff in the sideboard anyway, just so that I can swap them around if I, for example, get to go second, that I can go for the Null Rune boot, and if I go first, I just bring the Spell Void stuff. But I still need to think about that and see how I want to actually manage that. So for now, I'm running the Null Rune stuff, but feel free to experiment with the Spell Void stuff if you want to. So why did I change stuff in the deck? So right now we're in a bit of a very weird meta. Like previously I was mostly running Kasai. I didn't really play Dorinthea all that much anymore because I felt Kasai was just the better warrior in general in Blitz. But because we have so many decks that now try to take advantage of decks like Kasai, things like Riptide with all its traps, you have things like Assassin making a bit of a splash into the Blitz format because of the Frailty Trap. Now Kasai is in a bit of a weird position that she is not as consistent as she used to be. Maybe in your local meta Kasai is still just fine, but ever since Icelander and All Team rotated, the meta has been in a very weird situation when it comes to the Blitz format. So I felt like I had to make some drastic changes to the Kasai deck, and the more changes I kept making, eventually I felt like, you know what, maybe it's better to just run Dorinthea at this point. We kind of forfeit having the big combo turn with the blood on the hands, but in return we get just a lot more oppressive firepower from the Dawnblade every single turn, which is something that Kasai doesn't really have as much access to, because she does need to run a lot of cards that give go again and such to get the max value out of everything. And with Dorinthea, you can be more focused on getting all these little plus trees, even like an overpower sprinkled in here and there, which makes things quite interesting in my opinion. And I think that Dorinthea, because of that, might be in a better situation against the current meta, at least in the Blitz format. So talking about the Frailty Trap, the Frailty Trap is one of the main reasons why I went over to play Dorinthea, because playing Dorinthea means that we can run a full play set of Warriors Valor red, yellows and blues, and doing so we kind of turn warrior in a deck that doesn't have go again naturally, but it only has go again the moment that the weapon hits. And of course with Dorinthea, even if we have go again, if the Dawnblade doesn't hit, then we don't get a second swing anyway. So I feel the Warriors Valor is kind of perfect in that sense, because if it hits, we get to go again. If it doesn't hit, we don't get to go again, so we don't really lose any value here. And because that, we could also drop a bunch of the hit and runs that I ran previously. The guaranteed go again on the hit and run was kind of nice because we could go into stuff like a Nourishing Emptiness, which would then come in for 6 dominant and give us that +1 intellect. But I had quite good results with Gore Belching and Kasai, and I kind of want to keep on giving this a whirl in Dorinthea as well. So far it's been kind of good since we do have some other source of go again in the deck as well, and I think that is going to be a mainstay in the Dorinthea deck as far as I'm concerned for the time being. So I also added 1 copy of Ironsong Determination. I like Ironsong Determination, especially if you go first, you can give Dominate to your attack and then go with a big Dawnblade with Dominate into the opponent. Sometimes you will be able to spike some damage here and there to even get that +1 counter on the Dawnblade. I'm even considering to run a second copy of this card, especially because it combos quite nicely with all the Warrior's Fellas and stuff like that. But for now, I'll just keep it at 1 because the +1 damage can get a little bit awkward if you, for example, draw into this. You draw into Glistening Steelblade, and then they have something like a Sink below, and then your whole turn is ruined, and it just feels bad. So, because there's a lot of defense reactions in the current format, we have a lot of Flick Flack Ninjas, we have a lot of Trap Riptides, we have Assassins that run a plethora of traps as well. I've gone back to playing 2 copies of Dauntless. I cut Dauntless out of the deck completely in the previous metagame because I considered the ulti matchup kind of like a dead matchup anyways, and I didn't want to I didn't want to over prepare on a dead matchup. I prefer to just play into my strengths and play into the matchups that I'm already good against, making those better instead of making the bad matchups slightly better. It didn't really make that much sense to me, if you can follow me. And because there's a lot of blocking going on in the current format, running 2 copies of Ironsong Response isn't really all that bad anymore, because generally speaking, most decks want to block at least a little bit, barring maybe Dash or a Fire matchup. But at that point, I think with the Dawnblade counters, and because we have some very, very good 3 blocks in the deck in general, you're probably gonna be able to create some significant breakpoints and win that game anyway. So when it comes to some fun combos in the deck, one combo that I really like is to play the Glistening Steelblade together with Steelblade Supremacy, and then obviously the opponent is going to mass block the Steelblade Supremacy swing because they don't want to, first of all, give you that +1 counter from the Glistening Steelblade, and secondly, they don't want to give you the draw a card. But with Twinning Blade, you can kind of circumvent that, because if they block for 9, for example, you Twinning Blade, you get an additional swing, the buff of Steelblade Supremacy is still live, the buff of Glistening Steelblade is still live, and then when you swing in again, most likely it's going to hit, and you're gonna get and the card draw and that +1 counter from the Glistening Steelblade. At that point, you can crack your boots, go in another time. So I think the Twinning Blade is really useful in this deck to make sure that our combos can actually hit. Then of course, we do have the Sing Steelblade, which again fetches the Twinning Blade straight from the deck, so these 2 together really create a lot of consistency to be able to pull that combo off successfully. So I really like this combo potential with these 2 together with the Glistening Steelblade and Steelblade Supremacy. And it's kind of one of the big turns that you want to build towards. Like in the early game, you want to block a little bit more than you normally would, because you want to assemble this combo as quickly as possible, get one of these pieces in your arsenal, and then wait for the right moment to go in. Going in with the Steelblade Supremacy with an Ironsong Determination, for example, is also really good, because then you can very easily give a go again with the boots. Then with the Sing Steelblade, you can potentially fetch a Twinning Blade to get like a 3rd swing in, and so on and so on. So there's also some very nice combo potential there. Spoils of War, lately it doesn't feel as good anymore. I guess it partly has to do that the copper tokens don't really do all that much for Dorinthea in general, so they usually do. Then with the go again, and since it's only a +2, it makes Spoils of War a little bit meh at times. It makes it harder for the Dawnblade to hit. But then again, at the same time, because you come in with the Spoils of War, you come in with the Dawnblade, usually they're blocking with 3 cards from the hand, which is kind of means that you're gonna get an extra turn after that anyway. So maybe I'm overthinking rethinking things a bit. I like the 2 Steel Blade Shunts in the blue slot to deal at 1 damage. This can kind of come in clutch in the end game when the opponent's at 1 and they attack you with a weapon and you just win the game like that. I still run 2 copies of Sink Below in here. Maybe I should run something like Push Through or Push Forward is the name of the thing instead, but I like to have at least some defense reactions in here to get one in the arsenal, and then being able to play them on a good break point, like when they play something like a Snatch, to kind of try and gain the momentum back that way. So all in all, I'm very happy with the deck. Let me know what you think. If you're going to be playing Dorinthea Blitz and you are building the Dorinthea deck differently than mine, I would love to hear what you are doing different compared to my list. I also tried to Jubil, the Spell Void weapon. Didn't really work for me. Maybe it does work for you. If it does, feel free to let me know down below. But yeah, this is Dorinthea Blitz. I will be working on a CC list. I will be uploading that in the near future over on my Patreon, and I might do a CC video sometime next month or so. But I might hold off on the CC video until we get to see what cards we're going to have in DTD. Because we did see that very nice specialization that might make its way into this deck. But I want to see what else and what other toys we have to be able to put into the Dorinthea deck to make this as optimal as possible. Once I have all the toys available to me, I'm going to be optimizing Ninja, I'm going to be optimizing Warrior especially, and I'm probably going to be optimizing Assassin. I'm going to make these 3 classes like my main triumvirate, or whatever you want to call it, of classes that I will optimize all heroes from. So keep an eye out for that. If you're a big Ninja, Warrior and Assassin fan, this is the YouTube channel for you, and I hope to see you all next time with another Flesh and Blood video. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button, thumbs up the video, and leave a lot of comments down below because it really helps with the YouTube algorithm. If you want to support me, you can also do so by joining the Patreon. There's a link down in the description where I post deck lists, deck guides from both myself and other players, and I just give Flesh and Blood help in general. And yeah, that's pretty much all from me. Thanks for watching, and I will see you all soon with another video. Take care.